Welcome to Podcast, something like that. Yeah, track hearing is obviously Demetori, Death of a Bad Apple. So it's like, I don't know if it's Bad Apple before that Bad Apple song, but I don't know, I could be wrong. But this is a great song, or a great track, rather. Obviously based on the Toho track, Bad Apple. Was it Death of Bad Apple? I can't remember, they have confusing names for some reason. Yeah, but this track is a great metal track because it just does so many things well. It's heavy, it's got great melodies, it's a sense of melody as well. And also just twists it in a way that it's quite different as well. I guarantee you, if you like Bad Apple, you've never heard it done this way. There's just quite a few things going on. It's obviously like, I think 8 string if I'm not mistaken. Again, it's like a pretty heavy track. I can't remember if it's like one of the modern Demetori or if it's like an older one. Pretty sure it's like, oh, was it the one with Funk to Funky on it? So it is quite modern, I think. You can hear a sort of genty tone to it in this part I'm talking about right now. It's sort of genty. Like the stuff and balls and stuff. Yeah, like, it's such an interesting track. Also, it's one of the reasons why I admire Demetori so much. It's because these tracks are just so good. They've got such detail. Also, you can hear like different things. You can hear like a synth in the background, just about. You can hear different things in it. It just makes it so special. Also, I think there's like a lot of saturation as well in parts of it. So it does make it very interesting. Yeah. And also this chorus, but also the build up or climax or whatever. It's actually the pre-chorus, isn't it? It's just fucking amazing. It goes to the high notes, and then you've got the actual Bad Apple part, which is often really epic. And also I've transcribed this track too. It's very difficult to transcribe because the rhythms are hard to sort of understand without having an A string myself. And I don't really have one either at the moment, but I don't really need it. Because I can sort of figure it out through the tab. That's usually how I learned them actually. I didn't really play guitar to learn it, I just matched the sound. It did lead to mistakes, but yeah, for the most part it got the job done and laid the foundation if not anything else. But it's been very interesting going through a lot of Demetori tracks, learning them by ear. Also having them as custom DLC, and this breakdown is kind of one of the more basic ones I think. Mainly just like dissonance and heaviness, and I'm pretty sure there's like a glitchy audio bit there that upon me, or maybe kill switch, I don't know. It also leads into the solo. The solo is okay. I think it's not anything special, but it definitely works. Obviously, be bad if it didn't work. Yeah, here it goes. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on the track. It's just epic, really. It's always been interesting to me. Yeah, anyway, I ought to move on, so let's go to the first topic. So I'm almost finished watching an interesting video. It's about Pokemon. Yay. But this one is a topic that I've had tons of issues with anyway. Not just from this topic alone, but the general sphere of it. And I just dislike this aspect of Pokemon so much. I do think it's caused some terrible divides, but basically I'm talking about Pokemon shiny hunting. So I saw a video recently called Full Odds Elitism and Hypocrisy and Pokemon Shiny Hunting by Richard Pokemon. The name of the channel, and it's very interesting to see the sort of actual odds, because I assume that shiny hunting was like hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours into it, but it turns out it's not. According to Richard Pokemon, it's about 60 hours or 50 hours average, which is still bad in my opinion, but it's not terrible. And I think that really depends on your method. I think there's a difference between those sort of things, but anyway. The entire video is essentially about the elitism and hypocrisy in the community. So there's like a difference between method hunting, for lords hunting and stuff, in so many different ways, merely terms I don't exactly fully understand yet. But it seems much like other games, to be honest. Like there is a gatekeeping community behind them. It reminds me of World of Warcraft when I was talking about how do you get these mounts, and people say you need to complete the second hardest difficulty for this, and I'm like, what? Well, what if I don't want to do that to get the mount? They'll be like, no, it's prestige. So it's like, as Richard Pokemon brought up in the beginning of the video, there's different types of rarity. There's rarity through difficulty, which this certainly is. So, yeah, although it is rarity by also FOMO as well, to be honest, because that is an aspect when something gets removed from the game. There is definitely FOMO, so it's also a rarity by that, but it's not tradable. That's the thing. So it's very weird. It really disappoints me that there is actually still tons of elitism and hypocrisy in the shiny hunting community, because I've had weird experiences with that all the way back in Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. So Pokemon. Let's Go Pokemon would be great. But the problem with that I noticed is the moment we discovered that you can get shinies at a really quick rate, people are like, no, you can't do that. That's not a real shiny. Like, you're fucking kidding me? It's like the easiest way to get shinies. It's the only time I've ever shiny hunted in Pokemon. So, literally, it just doesn't make sense. And it just really frustrates me. So yeah, like, it sucks. And then there's also the issue in shiny hunting, and this has to be mentioned. When it comes to the later games, obviously Gen 6 to Sun and Moon, I'm not doing the meme. When it comes to that sort of generation, you know, obviously you still had to encounter more Pokemon, but it was also kind of a struggle, I think, to find shinies. And I never even encountered one in the times I grinded out in that. I did like 200 hours of Sun and Moon or something crazy, I think. And what about 20 to 30 hours on each other game? So Mega Ruby, X and Y. Yeah, but literally spent a decent amount of time on it, and that's I guess its own issue, and I haven't even encountered one in a game normally, which really fucking sucks in a way. But at the same time, I'm sort of blessed by that, because it's like there's not a ton of issues really. You know, it fucking sucks. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What's the other thing? I can't even. No, it's not going to me, but either way, I just never liked shiny hunting in Pokemon, just from, again, the same things about. I want to look at the fucking news, this is perfect. Yeah, like, it just never appealed to me. It's too much time investment. It's too little reward as well, let's be honest. The shiny thing is not really worth it. It's just a reskin Pokemon and a few parkour effects, but to me it's not really that worth it. And even from like a prestigious point of view, again, nothing. I'm just happy with Pokemon the way they are. If I find a shiny whatever, I'll capture it, but I'm not really that fussed about it. So, yeah. It's a very strange scenario, I have to admit it. Again, it never really interested me, so it's quite concerning, really. Just the fact that this community is just so fucking torn apart by toxicity and, again, elitism and hypocrisy. Again, it just reminds me of any other game. It happens there as well, and it seems to be a player base where they don't think a game should be suitable for everyone else. So, yes, same as the Souls-like communities, same as MMO communities, it's the same as MOBA communities, and even some shooter communities, admittedly not all of them. With enough, the least elitist and toxic gameplay I've ever seen from a game is probably with enough the TF2 community. I'm not saying something given the 50-50 you get with, well, political views, slurs, and stuff. Like, you get called all sorts of things, but you also interact in all sorts of ways. But the reason why that community is so different is because it's not gatekeeping your fucking gameplay. If you run a force of nature, people won't usually care. You may get an odd comment in like a chat or something, but people don't care. If you run a rap assassin, which notably is kind of useless, nobody will care. Like, there's so many different things in the game, even Flog, for example. Phagistinator is extremely powerful because it gives you crits as a pirate, but you lose the ability to air blast, and you also have an invincibility window, which kind of sucks, which I think is probably one of the worst changes they made. But even then, nobody really cares because there are counters to it, and you know, it's fun. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes when someone comes around the corner with that, it's like, oh shit. And they just all have a laugh about it because it's kind of funny. Well, if you're playing the game seriously, you're not playing it right, I think. That's one of the things I learned with TF2. Anyway, I think, once again, this community is just an utter fucking disaster. It just never made sense to me. So, yeah, don't really know what's to add, but let's move on. So, yeah. Hook, another topic. Yeah, I think this one might be worth talking about. It's interesting but also really fucking terrifying. Because I do sometimes hear that, you know, safety is like not a good thing for the world, but at the same time it kind of is. Because I think back in, I don't know, the 80s or 70s, they didn't really have any. So things were just up to, I'll say, intuition, experience probably. I'm not sure if intuition is the correct term. It's basically decided through that whether something was safe or not, and I can see that being beneficial, but at the same time, there are situations where safety probably is the best thing. So, in cases where you can literally reduce your chances of dying, or even just injuring yourself, it is literally a net positive. So no matter what way you look at it, it is, and admittedly this needs to be studied if it hasn't already. Imagine it probably has. You know, it depends on what the studies say, so we compare like two of the same sort of sectors, I don't know, factory work. We compare the ones where it wasn't done with safety equipment and the ones where it was, and we'll see the difference between the two. So it needs to take into account causal factors, so obviously country of origin if we are studying different countries and the sort of experiences they have with their lifestyles. But I think that's why we have the safety protocols to begin with. However, people will do, and there's just many billionaires, they cause safety violations every fucking day. You may not realise it, but one of the situations that I saw recently, whilst it's not strictly related to billionaires, it does ring a few alarm bells because of just how it could happen, is a UPS plane that crashed into a fucking recycling fuel centre, I believe it was, and caused so much fucking damage. It somehow killed only 15 people and injured 22. And it's just insane. Like, how the fuck does this even happen? This footage is terrifying, by the way, and funny enough, not funny actually, Last of Us, the series, I think it was Last of Us, like part one, the first ever episode literally dove into that sort of nightmare scenario with a plane crashing, like really low down to the ground. It's fucking terrifying, and I've had nightmares about that sort of thing ever since I was a kid. And to see that there was terrifying. It definitely got me thinking, and obviously it's just a scary scenario. But in this case as well, it's equally as terrifying. Like the dash cam of the truck driver, like he wasn't sure what to do. He like got out of the truck, so like, oh shit. And yeah, you can see it full swing. It's like 30 or 40 feet in front of him. Like it wasn't even that far. He just survived. Like it's fucking insane. And yeah, there must have been a lot of fucking terror in that situation. Because obviously you wouldn't have known what it was, and from what I could tell, it's like I think it was one of the plane engines went or something like that, and there wasn't really many ways over to prevent it. And apparently something to do with like the safety inspection, and the last one was actually quite recent, according to that. And even then, it clearly backfired because it definitely went wrong, and even with the inspection, it still went wrong. So it makes you wonder, like, what even is the solution here? Could it be that people are not paid enough? Could it be that there's, again, not too little known about these things? The fact it caused so many different, I guess, airlines and stuff to cancel their flights and whatever. Well, not airlines, but delivery services to cancel the flights. I think that's kind of telling. And it's also really unfortunate that it ended up being like so many things related to fuel. So we also need some sort of fucking guideline to restrict the amount of fuel we transport. Yes, it might hinder things, but it's going to be better in the long run, I think, if it's happening too frequently. Especially with how many things go fucking wrong here. Like, we need to have foresight, hindsight, whatever. Because obviously that plant shouldn't have been so close to the bloody airport. Like, Jesus Christ. That is... that's just silly, literally. It's unfortunate that there's so many losses there, but it's just unfortunate that it's just there, that just happened. It's in the flight path. So it really is kind of dangerous. So that's something we should be potentially looking at. Like, people might think it's safe, but it really isn't. And with enough, I honestly think we should be incentivizing a way to get airports to shorelines rather than on like a main bit of land or around nature. Because I think there's probably more safety in having, obviously, like, water beneath you. Because one, it could put out a fire. Two, the impact would probably be less devastating if there is a chance of survival. And three, it's out of the way. It probably doesn't even disturb the aquatic life either. I imagine real planes disturb wildlife much more. But yeah, I just find the entire situation really devastating, and just makes you wonder how little we actually know about this very topic, about everything related to this sort of technology. This type of transport as well, for that matter. This type of technology. So, yeah, I do find it concerning. There isn't really much to say. Overall, I think I'm just hoping that it is really solvable. And again, I think with even that warehouse arson attack, I think we just need to look at getting the proper funding for employees now. Fuck what billionaires think, and fuck what money you have. Like, nobody fucking cares. It's more important that we get safety in terms of supporting people, supporting the working class people. Because it's too dangerous to live in a world where we're not paid enough and people won't do their jobs properly as a result. It really just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I don't really know where to start. Pick on the topic here, so let's move on. This is something I was disappointed I heard about recently. It ties two topics together, and I think it's all relevant. Yeah, it's pretty important. So, where do I start? I guess the topic of the Pokemon situation with the tournaments. Also, I've got to comment on this, but basically to sum it up, I'm extremely suspicious, but I think it's gambling apps. I think that's why the ruling was made. And yeah, well, it's probably really shit. Like, some judge there, obviously being a complete idiot thinking he's immune or whatever they are, just deciding that someone deserves a loss because they celebrated. But not once in one case, but twice. Because there was a second case of this. And it's frankly fucking ridiculous. I just think it's really stupid. Like, there's like zero tolerance for something that isn't even violent or even bad sportsmanship. Like, it's just real shit. Like, what the fuck? I'm not even into competitive and this pissed me off as well. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you to make you think that this is a normal thing? To not only punish someone for celebrating, but also just playing the game. Like, that's the other thing. They're doing it well. But there's the recent situation which I was going on to. According to my critical Charlie. Apparently, it's been investigated by themselves. Very reliable, not. And they determined that these rulings are final, but there's actually different things now, rather than the thing that initially was said to have got the players disqualified. So, like, there is fucking nothing. It's actually ridiculous. They do not have any grounds here. So it just really sucks. But they investigate it further, as I said, and discovered that the players are apparently breaching certain rules, and one of them was a thing with the VGC. It's to do with shaking the table and stuff, which apparently they got a warning for, but Charlie investigated this and found nothing. So, what? Am I missing something, or is this fucking absolutely brain dead? I don't know if I've ever seen anything this brain dead, especially in a competitive game. Jesus fucking Christ. It's actually ridiculous. I just genuinely do not understand the logic here. It makes no sense. And it's just dangerous as well, because this probably plays on people's minds. You know, the competitive players, obviously. So, yeah. Like, why are they even doing these judgments anyway? Why do we have judges? If anything, the zero tolerance policy should only be to not disrupt the game and to not be an arsehole, to be bad sportsmanship. To do bad sportsmanship, I mean. And that's a ridiculous thing. Like, why is it not just this? Why did it have to be something else when it isn't even there? It's just an absolutely tone-deaf response, and that's why I think it is literally gambling apps, because there's no other way that anyone could look at this and think this is normal. It clearly is fucking not. People celebrate in different ways. Like, I know I've thrown a few headphones down once before, a few times. Probably not once, but I've done it a few times in celebration, rather than anger, and it's like, yeah, it's a big thing. I'm like, yeah, fuck, this is a great win or something. And that's a normal thing, and a lot of people do it. But I don't know how they can view this as violent. And then just change the narrative to something completely else, which also just makes them as guilty of the issue I just mentioned, which is probably a gambling app. They probably wanted to, the judge rather, wanted to gamble and win on it. They'll win the entire thing by a landslide, by making this arbitrary ruling, and probably even observe the behaviours of the said player. Let's not forget that people will do some really schemy, scummy things just to essentially get that way. And this is no different. Anyway, the next thing I wanted to talk about was actually reclaiming this. So basically, I'm in the works of doing something great as a personal project. Still sort of planning it out bit by bit because I am realising flaws in it. Making a physical Pokédex for anyone wondering. Yeah, I'm not also going to publish it because I'll breach a fucking legal issue. There's no point in that. Or is there? No. But the biggest issue is that I find companies like Pokemon and Nintendo are just giving themselves a bad name. And this really justifies reclaiming these things. I did this with Sonic and still do to an extent. Because I dislike how bad Sonic has gone. You know, I think even with the racing game that's apparently good, I'm still a bit kind of like, it's not really that worth it. And I keep coming back to the fact that these franchises, these products have some greatness hidden within them and can be great. But it's just absolutely squandered with the reality that either the developers or whatever it is, the actors, whoever, are just completely incapable of making it. And even publishers, like, they ruin things too. But they make these things really unpleasant and unenjoyable as a result. So naturally I just feel like there is an urge in me to see these things be put right, to see them done well. Like, that's probably how some fanfictions even start and go into TV shows, but it's so worrying when this is a reality. The fact that it's really disturbing when something goes wrong. So I'm just rubbing my eye. It's weird. Yeah, like, it is disturbing. Because these things you grew up loving and liking or whatever, they're no longer what they used to be. So they end up failing at what they're doing, and you're just like, what do we do? How do we even address it? And the obvious answer to me is to actually reclaim it, as I said. Basically get any asset you can, obviously use third-party sites and, you know, do something like, almost like downloading Wikipedia, I guess, but yeah, you find a way to pull these things and have a physical copy of it so it can be shared and see duplicated. So there's no end to the amount there is of this sort of thing. So maybe it's the Pokédex, maybe you want to back that up. I definitely do. Okay, let's find a way to back it up. Like, there's no problem with that. And as far as I know, that doesn't even breach a legal issue because it's a third-party fucking site. It's like, are you kidding me? Is Nintendo really going to send lawyers over to fucking get rid of something that belongs to a third-party site that doesn't belong to Nintendo? Like, what? It's fucking stupid. This is what I mean by reclaiming it. They would do something stupid like that. Like, literally the Simpsons meme. Like, that bit, I can't remember what I was fucking doing. Somebody's that's lost on me. So they thought Homer was really stupid and they're just waiting for him to do something stupid for like a laugh or something. But that's literally what's going on here. Yeah, just waiting for Nintendo to do something stupid, which they've done again. Or Pokemon Company, whatever, whoever it is at this point. As I said, it's really concerning world that we're in, where stuff like this is becoming more and more normal, and it's also just inherently corruption at its core. You know, someone probably even with like a fucking bias against a player. And no doubt the judge who did this, and we need to know who the judge is, I can't remember if it was said. But the judge probably has some sort of fucking connection to well, the winner, obviously, the actual winner, and then decided, no, you can't have this win because I told you so, even though they very clearly won. But it's fucking corruption, and this is why I say reclaim it. Take it back, make your own things, make your own games, make your own, obviously Pokemon, make anything like that. I think it's honestly worth it. You could technically do a third-party site even, where you upload fake Pokemon, a bit like SCPs, but also it's Pokemon. SCP Pokemon. Or a game, I'll do. Anyway, I think there really needs to be something like this done. It needs to be a complete reclamation, and people need to really be on board with the idea and band together to do it. And I think we should do it with anything Nintendo. So anything music, game, art related, anything, because it's all in danger. When they have the control and when obviously corruption like this happens, we really need that escape, and we need that detachment from what is obviously corruption and bad company, for that matter. Like Nintendo has been so bad for all of its games and IPs, and even the branches like Pokemon. So that's why we need this. It's quite fucking obvious. It's the most obvious solution I can think of. So yeah, when I see this tournament, we should host our own tournaments. There's nothing wrong with that. You can even do it for charity, like fuck it, do that. Like, it shouldn't be for fucking a prize pool necessarily. That's probably a good way to make a living and might even breach some legal issues, but I'd rather it be for like charity. And that's one of the great things about reclaiming these things. It's about having it in the hands of the community rather than the hands of a corporation. Which is why I think this is really important. Anyway, pretty much talked about everything I can. Yeah, I'm gonna eat my goo air cake, cheesecake, vegan, gluten free. And yeah, let's move on. I'm done with this. Right, I'm gonna do the grid me thing. Saw it again. It's been a trend for like a long time, but it's only come up again recently. I think they are kind of stupid, but I'm just doing this for personal things. I'm not really publicising it, except here. I'm not going to make a fucking post about it, because nobody really cares. But I find it interesting when there is an aspect to it. Who the fuck is that on the driveway? Hang on. Okay, thanks. Fucking this piece of shit phone. Can't type the keypad. Doesn't ask for my fingerprint, whatever fucking stupid thing. What the hell this is? I don't know what it's about. Hang on. Nobody's there now, okay. Well, that was creepy. Fucking people invite other people over. It was made me anxious in the last house. Still makes me anxious here. Yeah, I've never really gone through this, the Pokemon thing. So, you've got like different sections here. You've got like favourite, least favourite, very nostalgic, best evolution, best region variant stuff, best mega. Yeah, like favourite Pokemon and least favourite, I guess. Like, it's gonna be tough actually, because there's like 15 things here. There's gonna be different aspects to this, but favourite Pokemon. The thing is, I've always had a Sylveon in my team wherever possible. It's always been a staple of my teams because I just love Sylveon that much, so it has to be Sylveon. It's shiny Sylveon, I don't have a shiny. Second favourite. That's actually a tough one because it's actually probably between the two recent ones, Dragapult and Grimmsnarl. But I might have to say Dragapult because it has such a cool fucking design. It's like based on the Stealth Bomber, and it's just cool that we have a Ghost Dragon as well. Least favourite Pokemon, it's hard to tell without seeing. Well, actually, I do have something open for that. Oh. No, it's not it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, just scroll through them quick and see, like, because least favourite is really hard to say just based on, because I'm not really basing this on appearance mainly. just function, but also there's a bit of appearance in it as well. Like, as I said, Dragapult. But to have a least favourite needs to do both poorly, and it means I might not have used one. Or maybe even just a Pokemon I've been against, but even then it's nothing that's too bad. But maybe I'll just go from last generation to obviously young, oldest rather, or youngest. In terms of design, I'm looking at here, trying to think of what could it be. I'm tempted to put the other Pokemon, like the gimmick Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet there, like Iron Hands and Iron Jugulis or Excalibur. I forget of them, but I'm not sure. Wait, Excalibur doesn't count, it's not part of them. But like Screamtail and maybe Great Tusk, but I don't know. That's sort of a difficult thing because I haven't played the games exactly. I do find some designs are a bit kind of weird in this game. Maybe not functionally, but visually they are lacking. But I guess I could go to Galar next as a sort of second one. So see if there's anything here, because I did find some of these a bit uncreative. Did capture Britain somewhat well, but not perfectly. Oh, who could it be? Who could it be now? Still going through them. It's actually kind of hard to say because they're not like terrible, but they're not great. No. Also, since when is Cinderace a pure fire type? I thought Cinderace was fire fighting. That's weird. I just can't find one. I don't know if I even have one, to be honest. Because I know people point at like the Pokemon based on food as being least favourite, but I don't really have an issue with that. Because every Pokemon is a fucking food. Like the trunk is, you've got basically tall chicken. Like, yeah, people's like species are obviously playing a role there, but I don't really consider that uncreative either. Like, it's a thing. Like, if they're based on food, so what? Also, like Muck is creative, so I really don't know. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to leave this blank. I think I really don't think there is anyone I would consider that terrible, like both with function and like that. I guess Magikarp. Fuck it, Magikarp we go. Yeah, I guess I don't like Magikarp because it just does nothing for a long time. Underrated Pokemon. That'd be interesting because I haven't obviously used them all, so it's hard to really pick that. Could I not highlight? Weird interface. I don't know why it allows highlighting. Stupid. Also, why is it only showing Gen 1? It's weird. Yeah, I don't know that. It's hard to say. Search items, what? Can you search an item then? Antidote? No. Okay. I don't know who's underrated. I guess Golurk. Like, Golurk has been a favourite of mine. I've enjoyed using Golurk. It's just a cool Pokemon. Overrated. Overly. This one, kind of hard to say. I guess Charizard. I do think Charizard is very overrated. Mainly because of just being Charizard, but also Mega Evolutions. Best starter, I've only used a fair few, so it's hard to say. I think the best one I've ever used, again, I've only played a few games and I've also just got into Brilliant Diamond. Speed Delphox, like, or Fennekin. Like, I've put Delphox or Fennekin, I don't know, Delphox. Yeah, the thing is with Delphox is, I've always liked foxes. End of story. But I just like the typing, I like the moveset and stuff. And even though not the strongest starter, is probably my favourite overall of all of them, both in design and ability. So yeah, best Dynamax. Like, why can you choose other Pokemon for this? Also Dynamax, not Gigantamax. Okay, that's also going to be tough. I think in Sword and Shield I only ever used Cinderace, so it has to be Cinderace, maybe? Cinderace G-Max? Yeah, Cinderace G-Max. Also Pixel was kind of cool. Best Mega. Oh, that's also a tough one. Because, yeah, some I haven't even used, but like, can I type in Mega and it'll show? Yeah, it does show that Mega's interesting. Could just go through these. Quite a few, there's no images for some of them, which is a bit weird. Chinese versions of them. Oh, I don't know. It's hard to pick a Mega. I think they're usually all pretty good, for the most part anyway. Got some new Megas, but not all for some stupid reason. But I suppose I've been partial to the Gen 6 one, so I don't know. It probably has to be Mega Rayquaza. It's probably one of the coolest looking ones and also powerful. Yeah, Mega Rayquaza. Best region variant. Guessing that's like a Galarian and whatever it's called. That's gonna be tough. 11 Vulpix. No question. There's just like 4 picks, and the 11th variant is quite adorable. So yeah, best evolution. There we go. Yeah, people will be surprised, but even though my favourite Pokemon is Sylveon, I guess my favourite evolution of the lot is probably... Nah, it's actually Sylveon. But I do like Flareon's design and just wish Flareon was stronger. Would have as a pet. Oh, I don't know. Tinkaton. Nah, it'd be Eevee. Has to be. Eevee G-Max, why not? Fit him in the house. Outside feeding him tons of stuff. Best looking shiny Sylveon. No, I'm just kidding. Always are they? I don't know. I'm trying to think, because I don't pay attention to shinies. I don't really care. They're a bit stupid in my opinion. So I don't know what the best shiny is. And I've seen cool ones, but I think Sylveon being inverted is also kind of a cheap one. It's kind of easy to pick that. I think like about Vulpix, about Fennekin, because I could look at my favourite Pokemon. And Fennekin is white, Delphox go white as well. Oh, I really don't know. Grimmsnarl. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, I cannot pick for this one. I don't really have an option, I don't think. So it probably has to be like a evolution. Just put an Eon. They come with Finneon stuff on it. And then Boreal. Most important evolution. Also Charmeleon. There they are. Some more shinies. Espeon being green actually is really weird because we have the Glorp stuff. Glorp emotes and stuff. With Vaporeon is actually kind of cool. They go from blue to pink. Again, I don't know. It's really tough, I think. Because I don't know shinies. Anyway, the next one shows shiny Vaporeon. I don't know why I like this, but I do. Tinkaton. 100%. I do know, but you know, it's probably the closest thing, unless there is one for that. So Tinkaton has a personal story behind it. I don't know. To guess Eevee, maybe? Trying to think. Who would have a personal story? Just trying to think. Again, been through only about 5 or 6 Pokemon games. So it's hard to pick one, because obviously our teams of 6, and then times by 6 you get 36. So 36 Pokemon probably to the end game. Only a select few would have gone through, so I have no idea. Could I maybe put the toughest Pokemon against? Something like that. It almost makes me wish I had my 3DS, because there's probably a story with like Sun and Moon. I do remember parts of the story of like taking care of a lot of Vulpix for some reason, becoming good friends with them. It's heartbreaking when I had to separate when we met back on the mountain. So I don't know. It's like evolutions have been one of the things that it's really gained my interest, being interesting. Anyway, last one, very nostalgic to me. Probably has to be like the first game, but probably a Mega Ruby Groudon. So yeah, that Mega Groudon I'll put there. Because it's the first well, it's the first 3DS game that I got. Where's Groudon? Groudon Primal, that's it. Mega Groudon, Primal Groudon. Yeah, what weird fucking list. Yeah, because again, Mega Ruby's the first Pokemon game I ever played, which might be strange to people, but it literally is. So just to repeat the list I have. Favourite, Sylveon. Second favourite, Dragapult. Least favourite, Magikarp. Underrated, Golurk. Overrated, Charizard. Best starter, Delphox. Best Dynamax in the race. Best Mega, Rayquaza. Best region variant, Alolan Vulpix / Ninetales. Best evolution, Sylveon again. Would have as a bet, G-Max Eevee. Best looking shiny, Vaporeon. I don't know why I like this, but I do. Tinkaton has a personal story behind it. Eevee and Grout. Very nostalgic to me is Primal Groudon. So yeah, I would also put like Xerneas, the legendary from obviously X and Y. I would put Xerneas there as like a second option. It's interesting to look at just how much Pokemon I know, sort of. Yeah, it's kind of hard to remember. I just felt like sharing that really. So yeah, weirdly enough, my trends on was just fox type Pokemon or animals. You got bloody Dragapult, which is like a dragon. You got Rayquaza, which is like a space snake or something. Tinkaton, don't know what the fuck that is. Groudon, don't know what the fuck that is. Yeah, anyway, let's move on. So one of the things I've been thinking about recently, which I think is kind of interesting, is, I've had bad experiences on Final Fantasy XIV since starting Golden Saucer, I keep calling it wrong, and it's been agonising to go through various buggy systems as well as terrible design choices. With enough, there are bugs in this that are actually quite game breaking, so I don't understand why it's not patched, but I don't know. I'm not a game designer, so I don't know. I don't really have an explanation for why the bugs still exist. So yeah, why I say it's game designer, because he should have had the foresight. That's quite obvious. But anyway, I was just thinking, because I said some unsavoury things last night, I think it was, I don't know, half expecting either a silence or a ban or something at some point. It wasn't like, oh, go fucking kill yourselves. It's just like, I called them fuckers. Yeah, I called the developers fuckers. Yeah, which isn't the right choice of words, but myself being mentally ill, that's what happens. I don't know if it was a meltdown or OCD or what, but I know the trigger is the terrible game design. So yeah, but it made me wonder what other games are there out there that don't essentially punish me for existing and also take up my time in a good way. And other than something that's like similar to Genshin or Deep Rock Galactic, I don't play Genshin anymore. But something similar to Deep Rock, I think would be good. And I think that's like one of the reasons why I think I could potentially get off Final Fantasy XIV for good. And that's the main thing that's keeping me scared in a way, because I don't know how to actually get into another game to find something fun to grind out that isn't stupidly expensive. Like, I don't like FOMO. I can take microtransactions, but it needs to be fair. But I just want a game that's nice to me and can take my time up, like Final Fantasy XIV does. I know World of Warcraft isn't, so that's off the table. I've heard good things about Guild Wars, but even then I just don't want to do an MMO again. I just fucking detest it now. I'd rather do something in my comfort zone. Like, two of the things I'd thought of before was probably Risk of Rain and RoboQuest. Even then, it's not my sort of thing. I think Risk of Rain looks really fucking miserable. Not just graphically, but gameplay wise it didn't really appeal to me from what I saw. Different, but not really for me. So that was, again, off the table. And RoboQuest looks fun. I think I'd have to try and see. So, I really don't know. What other options are there? Like, Final Fantasy games themselves might be grindy. Not sure if in a good way or not. So I really don't know. It's hard to say. Obviously I tried like Assassin's Creed and stuff, which I fucking detest. Assassin's Creed was awful. But I really don't know. It's a complicated topic that I really need to mention. I do feel like we need a fucking getting distracted by the brain freeze and Pokemon anime. But I just need some sort of game to tie me down to give me something to look into. And even though there's a list of games, the problem is affordability. Because I want to try and get as many physical games as I can, in this day and age especially. And I just want to enjoy them. I want to be able to play them and have them forever as a memory, and also be able to put time into it that's long. The problem with Pokemon games, for example, though, is the only part that's long is probably the end game. So when you get to like the competition phase, like, I don't know, Sun and Moon had like a battle tower or something. I can't remember what Gen 6 had. Probably had something. I know, actually, Omega Ruby had Battle Frontier, and I never really touched it because it didn't interest me. But yeah, there's like different aspects of the game that you can do, but it's not amazing. And I think one of the biggest problems with that sort of thing as well is also difficulty. So Pokemon as well, even ignoring the shiny hunting aspect, it's off the table, and shiny hunting would be too stressful as well. I wouldn't be able to commit that much time, and I wouldn't even enjoy it because I know there'll be fuck ups everywhere. So again, it's just off the table, and it's just like, I need a game where there's tasks, and that's really it. It's why Deep Rock Galactic is like the perfect match, and why essentially I'm done with it. Because I've done so much in that. There's just not much left. I've done modded, I've done... What else have I done? I've got House 5, I've done the deep dives, I've collected everything. I've done everything you can. So that complicates things a bit more. TF2, I've already played that a ton. 5.8k fucking hours played. It's nuts. My friend still plays it, which is interesting. Just a bunch of screenshots. looking through the feed. Interesting. Oh god, AVM player somewhere. Yeah, like, it's so difficult to tackle this topic, literally. Even though there's a list of games that I can play right now without having to pay for them because they are paid for, I'm still skeptical, and I still need other games when they're done, or if I just can't get along with them, I need something to cheer me up. So again, it just gets really frustratingly annoying. And that's why I tend to go back to games that are, again, more comfortable. D-Rock, and at some point it's going to be TF2, I think. It's just goes without saying. I forgot to edit my fucking videos today. It's like fucking forgetting. It seemed too good to be true to be done with my hobbies, and that's pain. I'm going to do that quick, I think. But yeah, essentially that's the situation I'm in. I just really need to figure out a way to invest time into something. And you could say, like, invest into hobbies. Like, I don't really want to. Like, hobbies are really a side project sort of thing. It's not my main focus, and I want something to do that can help me unwind. Playing guitar can be stressful sometimes just because obviously the way I learn it through games doesn't exactly work all the time. And even then, it's not easy to do either because I'll just get bored. I've done it before, I've played like hours at a time and I've gotten burnt out from it. It just doesn't work out. So again, it's not simple. That's the gist of it. So I don't know, but this is something I'm considering it anyway. Just what the alternatives are, what I could do in the meantime if you can say things go wrong or have an episode. Usually my default tends to be something like Deep Rock, just to pass time and some fun. But that's like when I'm desperate to have some fun or something. Although technically I should be doing TF2. I might have to do that in the future. Yeah, anyway, I better move on and edit this damn video. It's gonna be long. I felt like bringing this up because of just seeing it again. Eco-terrorism, heard it a few times. To be honest, I didn't even know it was a thing even a few years ago. And I started to hear it more and more, and I think it's also partly because of a bigoted narrative. Essentially, people are convinced that there is this thing apparently called eco-terrorism, and they deem it something where, according to the definition on Wikipedia, it's not even actually about terrorism. It's just about the actions that essentially eco-conscious people take, which may be direct action. But to call it terrorism is fucking weird because, much like people trying to rescue dogs from a testing facility, which by the way a bunch of people did try to anyway, and they're doing it again. Essentially, are you going to call them terrorists because they get in people's way and potentially harm like profits? Like, what the fuck are you thinking? Calling them that? Like, I'm not just an eco-conscious guy. I'm just looking out for everyone's best interest, and to label them with this, it doesn't do anything. Believe it or not, I think there's a common misconception there. Because it literally doesn't do a thing. It's just a fucking label and it doesn't do much. And much like every other label, and this is why people essentially are getting stupider. You look at these labels and think, oh yeah, they're fucking horrible. But the reality is, when you get to know the type of people they are and what they're doing it for, completely flips your worldview on its head, because that's what happens with these things. And the reason why there's animal rights activists is because there's an animal rights issue. the reason climate change, well, I don't know what to call them, climate action activists, suddenly remember the name, is because there is a climate issue. So it needs to be addressed. It's not a matter of like opinion, the issue needs to be addressed. It's almost as threatening as a fucking nuclear war. Just to put it into perspective, it's probably not similar, but it is devastating either way. But as I said, it's just as threatening as in ecosystems collapse, we lose everything. And it's just, over the course of time, we'll just be suffering non-stop. And that's not a good trade in my opinion. All this corruption and greed, as I've commented as well, is probably what's leading to this issue. It's going to lead to more and more issues, and so we just fuck ourselves over more. And this is why I don't really agree with using terms like eco-terrorist to describe someone who takes very seriously, by the way, and very, like, heroically, I should add, they take climate action. So, you know, it really shows. And there's even, like, people who apparently at the moment tries to break into, like, military bases and tries to disarm planes, which are obviously being sent to either, like, in favour of Israel or in favour of a war. Like, it's kind of even. But the problem is they go to the worst places rather than the places where it's necessary. So, like, it could go to Ukraine, but they don't do that because, well, it's the UK government for starters, and it's not very well put together. It's pretty shit. So we do have that struggle again. It just feels like nothing's taken seriously, and again this label does nothing but actually bolster these groups. It's pretty insane. I don't really understand why it's not been realised. So what's the other thing with this? I suppose it works in the same vein as other things about how, say, animal rights activists has been sort of harassed by these labels before, and general other activists too. I no doubt it's happened to everyone throughout history. Every rights activist has ever existed, they've been labelled something, they've been labelled whatever, and essentially the label doesn't work because their actions, though questionable or violent, actually mean something. And they actually do a lot more than you think, which is why prescribing a label doesn't do anything. So I have to keep it fucking explaining. Like, even in a more controversial aspect, school shooters, for example. Yeah, they're scum. But there's more to it than just what you're seeing, than the action you're seeing. Even the consequences, there's a lot more to it. So to simply deem all of them complete arseholes is just incorrect. You don't know what's fucking going on in their head. You don't even know if it's even their fault, technically speaking. So, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense, really. Every time I look back at this sort of topic, it's always the same bullshit. People putting words in other people's mouths, and also just doing this thing where they find a word that's trendy and then use it all the fucking time. It's like when right-wing media found the term anti-Semitic and then started to use it a lot to describe people who disagree with Israel. Well, the thing is, anti-Semitism isn't about criticising Israel. It's about criticising religion. It's about criticising Israel. As in the war criminals, the terrorist organisation. Everything around that. That's why people do that. That's obviously not what anti-Semitism is. Like, anti-Semitism is specifically targeted religion. So there's a hatred for a religion specifically, and it's demonstrated. But that really fucking isn't what it seems, obviously. Yeah, anti-Semitism is literally like a buzzword. It's been hijacked by the right-wing media, and then that's been blasted out of proportion. So yeah, it really fucking sucks. What else is there? I'm trying to think of another topic. I suppose there's more. What was I even talking about? I have really bad memory recently. There was something else, I swear. Yeah, the labels, that's it. Let's try to figure another one, but this example doesn't really work. I was thinking about stop killing games, but that's a different ballpark, obviously. And I don't know. Like, it's very strange that we live in this world again, but that can even be seen as like a type of terrorism to a corporation of all things. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah. But that's the other thing, I guess, because I operate from a moral framework rather than what other people do, which is like face value. I tend to favour a reality where we accept what actions people do that are questionable but overall beneficial. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but sometimes it is the right thing. I think it does mean that we have progress there whenever that does happen. But again, in these situations where the labels are used, it doesn't do anything. It's just, I guess it's a non sequitur, is that the term? Like, literally does nothing. Because people who are rational will just look at these things, look at the actions again, dive into it, find out what's really going on, and the truth will be that. Sort of reminds me of how, I think it was that vegan teacher, I could be mistaken. Essentially, was labelled as fucking a Karen back in the day, and she's doing TikToks and was picking up traction for that. And yeah, essentially assigning that label to her, even though she wasn't a fucking Karen, that's the weird thing. Again, it's just like a buzzword. People just don't know what these words actually mean. Don't know what Karen is for some reason, even though a lot of people do, and probably they do themselves actually know what it is. But are not using it in the correct way. So, of course, we've got issues there. Yeah, I can't think of anything else, to be honest. But that's about it for this topic, I think. So, yeah, let's move on. So, I said I was going to get into this to look at it, figure it out, also about Scientology. Because I was curious, I wanted to know what the deal was with it, having no knowledge on it and stuff. Hang on, I'll do something. Yeah, it's fine. I know I was concerned about whether I was right about this or not, also based on what South Park did on it. And what I've heard over the years, like, what the fuck is the deal? Like, what's the actual problem here? And it's kind of obvious that it's very much a terroristic religion where, or rather extremists, like, it's not terrorists, it's just extremists, where they go to great lengths to essentially silence people and essentially abuse them as well if they are part of the church. Supposedly, the church anyway, but this is like really fucked up. It's actually kind of insane. But it seems like, based on what the accounts are in this documentary I watched called Going Clear Prisoner Belief, it definitely seems like a cult, because it's like you have to believe this or else. You know, there's literally that clause there where you think they're actually threatening people when they do. They completely fuck up people's lives. There's supposedly even murder happening as well, behind the scenes, and nobody knows because they're just so lost to the church that, again, you can't really know. So, like, say if someone close to you gets into it, and they start to say something like, oh, they're going to disconnect from you, then that's really a sign to be worried, because they're literally losing their lives. Because you never know what's going to fucking happen next. You may not even see them again. And that's a really harsh reality of this situation. Yeah, it's a really fucked up religion. Because, again, myself being a skeptic and agnostic, especially in like anything else religion, not just, well, Christianity, it's like every religion that's ever existed, and also the belief of God. This is even more unbelievable than those. Which is a really telling sign of what type of people they are. Like how incredibly stupid it all is. Because you can obviously see that this is a science fiction writer that wrote a science fiction religion and claimed it was real. Yeah, like we may be going through some sort of fucking cycle. We may be repeating things again and again, which is probably why we have deja vu and shit. So we're constantly going through this infinite loop, like a big universe reset, or like, what's that? The big collapse or something? The big crunch? Is that what it's called when the universe collapses? I think it's a big crunch, but it's essentially something like that, and then it resets, and I don't know if there's like different variables, but that part I can sort of get, but then it goes into weird shit about claiming there's a god overruling it and stuff. It's so fucking weird. And then they also claim that there's supernatural abilities, which are much like any other fucking religion I've heard. Everyone claims they create like opportunities for you or solutions to your problems, like very serious problems that matter, which can't even be addressed with religion. By the way, it needs to be addressed with therapy or dedication. And people are really confused too. I've heard crazy stories about people who go through the entire religious thing and then, yeah, they end up fine. In the end, they come out of it, and that's often because of correlation. They see things, they claim, they hear things, they talk to God apparently, and I just don't find that. I've spoken many times in my head, obviously, to God and said, you know what, I hope that the war in Iran stops. I hope that the genocide of Gaza stops. I hope a lot of things, and rather than say hope, I say I really think this should stop. You have to do it. And guess what? It doesn't happen. It's not even really a big ask, and yeah, it still happens. So I'm therefore skeptical that God even exists, just based on that. It's my present with him, also them even asking for things personal to me to be solved, so mental health getting better, to get rid of invasive thoughts and OCD and stuff, even just traits of my autism. I want to be able to cope with sound better, but no, nothing. So again, there's just that entire skepticism around religion that, again, it just doesn't engage me. It doesn't really ring anything to me, like nothing that can draw me in, nothing that can convince me of, well, Xenu in this case. There is nothing. So it really does show again the lack of intelligence of people to actually believe this. And the fact they actually believe religion with this crazy ass theory about, again, the world reset and stuff, which we can't even prove either. So really it's just like a belief thing. It's fine to have that. In some ways I do believe it, but I don't believe in a god. I don't believe there is, because it's not provable. And the same with the cycle. It can't be proven. The only reason I believe it is because it's on a whim. That's probably correlation, much like everything else. And the more I think about it, the more I realise like some of these things are kind of connected. You know, we've even got scientific evidence that kind of shows that it can be that. So that's why I choose to believe it. That's really my case for that, but no, Scientology, definitely not it. It's a fucking load of garbage. And yeah, it justifies more and more what we see with people speedrunning, going into the places where they exist and mapping out each area. it is honestly justified. And if you're a religion that's genuine and accepting of things, then you would actually be able to publicise it. So, you know, if you're so confident that this thing is real, that this belief is good for everyone, why is everything you do not so public? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, churches make it public that they fucking steal people's money, but, you know, Scientology is like, no. We try to keep that secretive when we don't pay taxes. Like, great. Yeah, that's completely normal for religion, I think. You know, it's worse than other religions. It's even worse than types of like extremist religions, so like, you know, Islam that preaches that side. You know, not everyone who's following the Muslim belief believes in the extremist aspects, or aspects rather. But some do, and they give it a bad name. But again, that's them. That's not the entire fucking religion, which is a different thing entirely. If it was the entire religion, then yeah, I'll be on the side of things like maybe genocide. But that again has to be justified. So it has to be proven that this is actually overall beneficial. But no, they're killing children, they're killing women, they're not even capturing them, so they're not even doing the basic human decency thing. And so the genocide is not justified. Even while this is extremist religion, it's just corrupt and evil. There's literally evil things happening here as a result of this genocide, so yeah, I can't really be on the side of it. It's just nothing. It's fucking horrible. And it'd be the same if Scientology was to do something similar, or even just like a cult thing where they do mass suicide or genocide for, obviously, their own group. It's just ridiculous, and unfortunately these things grasp vulnerable people, and it's even like social pressure. I don't know why this isn't mentioned enough, but sometimes it is pressure. People feel pressure to join these things, to fit in, to not be in the way, to have less arguments and stuff. It's very much a thing where people try to draw you in. It's the same with any religion. But Scientology is probably a bit worse in that aspect because it promises to solve your problems, whereas other religions, it's not that. You hear about it, but you don't hear like, oh, it's a solution to everything. No, because some religions and lots of religions actually, they allow for intervention, they allow for medical treatment, they allow for different things, so obviously beneficial to us. Scientology, I don't know if it does, but I know it's not on the same line as that. So they do cause harm because they don't offer a solution to the problems you want a solution to. It's just ridiculous. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I can't think if there is. There was one bit in the documentary that I thought was a bit suspicious, and there was like a woman crying, saying some things, but it was out of context. I think that was a bit shit. I don't know why you're doing that, it does make it seem a bit disingenuous. But other than that, everything seems somewhat sound, because obviously it's provable. You've got ex-Scientologists, even in the higher places, literally talking about this and exposing what's happening. So yeah, it's an interesting documentary, and I just find it really disappointing that people have even taken to this, and, you know, celebrities as well, not like care about celebrities, but they have the opportunity to speak out, and they don't. You know, you've got Tom Cruise and John Travolta seemingly in that, and it's just fucking gross, because it's just so stupid. Like, they believe this for some reason, and believe there's a correlation there. They call them the fame and fortune that they wanted. Like, what then? Or what does it fucking matter? It's a correlation, it's not proof. It's the same with any other religion I've heard, and again, I've said it I've requested things, I've asked for things. I haven't asked for big asks other than, I'll say, stopping wars and genocide. But I've asked for simple things, I've asked for personal things, and they've not really been met. I remember quite a few years ago I even said some prayers about solving my breathing problems and being able to go to sleep properly without the breathing problems, and it solved itself after praying, but I discovered later that's actually a correlation, because what was happening was I was changing my sort of pattern, like my throat was obviously doing something there, and my mind was, I think my throat was like not as tightened, that's more accurate, but my mind also tricking myself into thinking it's working by placebo. So, yeah, as I said, it's really concerning that these are even things. I don't think there's anything else to mention here. I've pretty much covered everything. And it's a pretty solid documentary. There's like a decent amount of history. You see bits about Ron L. Hubbard, who, weirdly enough, seems fucking nuts. Sadly, he's just really ill. He's homophobic as well, apparently. Really paranoid, so probably schizophrenic. And that's probably an aspect of him where he just gets stuck in his own head a lot. Not like myself, to be fair, and some people I know. But that does seem like what's happening there, which is why there are so many books written. Yeah, it's sort of a shame in a way, because he's a waste of talent, but also I think greed probably got the better of him. It's like, maybe there's like some fucking creeping loneliness, and he just wanted to get somewhere in life, be able to have a wife, maybe kids, and just be able to be successful, to live a high life, obviously. And that's probably what led him to this. It's like greed and corruption again. Doesn't matter how smart you are, if you are smart, that is. I don't really believe such a thing exists. But we only know what we know, and understand what we can. But yeah, just real shit situation. Sadly, Scientology is still fucking going. I looked it up about the updates on people mapping it, speed running it, the centres I mean, and yeah, there's not much else now. There's like a few more rooms. There's a few left, it seems, but yet to see them. But it's extremely concerning that these places are allowed to run still. It's America, so they probably don't care, but they shouldn't be allowed to run this. They should be rescuing people from this situation, putting them into proper care. Like, we need a thing set up specifically for people traumatised by religion. It actually does exist. I've seen, I think it's RTS, religious traumatic syndrome. Yeah, it's a real thing. It exists, and that's probably how to address it. That's probably the only way. What was I going to say on that though? As well as something else. Just left my mind. I can't think. But yeah, that's the situation anyway. I gotta move on, gotta eat now. Pretty hungry. That's my thoughts on that Scientology documentary and Scientology as a whole. Again, it's a load of shit. Has anyone else ever considered the fact that denial of the existence of, well, natural things like, well, LGBTQ plus is probably anti-science? I'll explain. One of the reasons I think that a lot of these things happen is also because people just make it up in their heads, obviously, by virtue of it existing. But the real issue comes down to the source, and where they think there is a problem is often they conflate these things with being a choice, when in reality they are not. I was thinking of like transgender people of all things because of the band I like called All Our Remains, but unfortunately I think, at least I heard somewhere, their vocalist is quite transphobic, which sucks because the band is otherwise pretty talented, except for the vocalist, pretty basic, but also just a dickhead based on that. And it makes me wonder, like, what can I say to convince someone like him, or it, whoever the pronoun is, about something like transgender people being real and existing, and having a very real issue associated with it, hence the transitioning. And the thing I came up with is to also use the term anti-scientific. So if you are someone who supports transphobic rhetoric and ignores the fact that people have real dysphoria, gender dysphoria, then you're literally anti-science. You're the same line as an anti-vaxxer, as a COVID conspiracy theorist, same thing. Like, you're all just a bunch of idiots, because that's what it is. It's a bunch of idiotic thinking with no evidence, nothing to back your claims here. Where you could have like pointed to a study or something to say, oh yeah, this causes that, and obviously transgender people aren't real. But there is no study, so you have nothing on your side, so you're not even favouring the evidence here. Even just looking past the science is about evidence too. So even then, people making these claims that they're just doing it to deceive or whatever, there is no evidence. Where is the evidence that they are deceiving? There's a genuine question, where? Because if I was to find it, I'd take issue with it, for sure. But I've not seen it, so it doesn't exist. And the other point I have to make here with this is to do with the existence of like treatments and the very real serious issue of like gender dysphoria, and in the case of obviously sexuality, the very real situation that people are just attracted to other genders, other sexes. It's so fucking brain dead that people will even think along these lines. You know, if someone's transphobic, that also means they're likely to be homophobic, so sort of extent, and also anything phobic really, in terms of gender identity and sexuality for that matter. Yeah, but they're likely to be like that. And you can also pair them together because it is literally the same line of thinking. Oftentimes I see gay people accused of, I don't know, sinning. One of them I heard. There's also people who think it's a choice. People who think it's I was trying to think what the other thing was actually. It's where there's something else associated with it. Something that's kind of gross to even interpret. Not the paedophile claim, that's a different thing entirely. But that is also just a terrible correlation because it means the same for straight people as well. So straight people are all paedophiles. Great logic. Fucking idiots. Anyway. Yeah, but the point to refute them is obviously based on evidence. The evidence we have, which is very much inherent, is that it's in nature. Homosexuality is natural. It's real. It fucking exists, and you have to get used to that. It exists in animals. It exists in humans. And animals are probably less likely to realise it, but it is observed still. So there is literally bullshit claims here about this, and I just cannot comprehend the logic here of why you even think this way, why you even think it's even a thing. Genuinely doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that is all in science, and the same with treatment for trans people, I forgot to mention. It's the exact same thing going on. The assumption is you think that people do it by choice, that people doing it to deceive or trying to cheat at sports. There's many different things that people accuse them of, and yet there's no evidence. There's nothing proving the fact. And even then, the evidence is like 1 in what, a fucking million, I think I heard or something. Like, it's so rare to find a trans person in sports, and rare to find them even deceiving. So again, there's nothing there. And then you also have to play it fair by pointing out your own side issues. So if we're looking at the amount of rapists per trans person, then in percentage of the population, and per percentage of obviously the straight population, for gay people in there as well, you'll find more than likely The straight people are far fucking worse. So you need to be focusing your efforts on them if you want to protect people from rapists. Not the trans people, not the gay people. And yeah, with transgender stuff as well, the treatment for it, unlike what people say, because they think there's this magical cure. It's like, oh, you go to conversion therapy or you go to some sort of therapy to get a cure for gender dysphoria. That's not the reality. There's no such thing. In the end, it's dealt with by a doctor usually, and it's also dealt with by transition. That is the only treatment and cure that we have. And even then, you're not guaranteed survival, but that's because of the issues that, again, I mentioned. Because people keep bringing this shit up and then pushing it home, and nobody gets a chance. So, what do you expect? I'm all for having a good faith conversation about these things, genuinely. But people are not arguing in good faith, so they've already lost the argument. They become bigoted, and that is a threat to free speech as well, weird enough. I have to mention this as well. So I realised a while ago, I think, with free speech, it only matters if you're obviously convinced you're right, and that's a dangerous way of thinking. Because a lot of people will hijack these narratives and also put their own thing forth, but it will end up taking over free speech because suddenly this is a narrative that people have, and suddenly we'll get silenced for even mentioning something. It's like, oh, you mentioned a trans person, arrested. Like, great. Real fucking awful, even despite the evidence out there. Yeah, we're even seeing the Olympics banning trans women for some fucking reason, and then you have to look at the advantages that people have on drugs, where there are more cheaters on drugs than there are trans women. So what the fuck are we even doing here? Genuinely. And it's anti-scientific, so yeah, I'm definitely open for pairing people who are transphobic based on, obviously, anti-scientific grounds. Considering them anti-scientific and also in the same line as anti-vaxxers too. And probably the same line as like autism curers or whatever you call them. They're literally most evil people on the fucking planet. They're up there with obviously the corrupt people and war criminals and stuff. But yeah, it's a harmful narrative, literally. Doesn't help things. I argue in favour of science, because science is accurate. It's there to explore these things, to make observations, to write them down, to change the course of history, to put things right. It's not a hard thing to grasp, it's literally there. And we favour science, obviously, because it's our most accurate way of demonstrating a point. Gravity was demonstrated through things falling. And what else is there? Like, genuinely, it's like, what the fuck? Like, it's just nuts to me that, again, we're here. We're still debating this crap for some reason. We don't even need to debate it, that's the thing. There was no evidence on any of this stuff, and it just makes no fucking sense. So, yeah, I don't know what to add, really. The world just, again, feels like it's going to shit, so I have no idea. I felt like responding to this. And I'm pretty sick and tired. It's just stupid arguments, stupid debate. I've debunked it so many different times, and it's just absolutely exhausting. I just cannot wrap my head around why people even believe this or think this way wrong. It's also believing, yeah. Anyway, I think I better move on. I've got stuff to do again. Look at what's done today. I mean, I've got most of my hobbies done. Didn't get any exercise, but I couldn't because my feet were fucking tired and pain. And it turns out, actually, that's the next topic. So let's move on to that. This one was something interesting I noticed while using the toilet today. Because I always thought, like, damn, my legs are fucking big, and they keep getting bigger as well. That's a weird thing. It's kind of scary, because I don't really fit in any boxes anymore. The biggest tell that they were sort of, I don't know, not off, but they are weird, is they don't jiggle. Because usually they jiggle when they're fat, obviously. But mine don't jiggle. That is so fucking weird. I don't know what's happened exactly, but I seem to have put on a lot of muscle on my legs. I don't know how, but I have done it. And there's so much there that I can't even get a single jiggle until I get to the very top of my legs. But it's so strange, because all this time I've been thinking like my legs are just fat, and they're not. My stomach is fat. It's got like pretty much no abdomen there, which is also quite frustrating to be honest. So, yeah, don't really get it. But like, yeah, what do I even say? What do I even do? It's not like I can't lose muscle on my legs, because every time I put on a bit of weight, it seems to be an extra load for my legs. And then when I work out or walk, did have one yesterday, did about 3,600 steps. Might not seem like much, but it is exhausting, especially with inclines and stuff. Difficult north. Anyway, it's very weird because I don't really find this normal, because I never used to have this. And my legs were big, but they weren't this big, and not because of muscles, because of fat. So I don't know where that's coming from. And then my arms are the same thing. It's like when muscle sort of sticks out, it's like there's no jiggle anymore. When obviously I don't flex, there's jiggle. So just wondering how much of my body is just like this. Is my stomach like that? I'm really confused. It doesn't really make much sense to me, so yeah, it's a very strange thing, I guess. I don't really know what to say. I don't know, it's like an SOS, I don't really know. The only thing is that it's actually like an SOP, save our penis. That doesn't work, save my penis, there we go. Because it does affect my area, obviously. And it just about fits, even in this new chair I have a Miller, but it's still a bit uncomfortable. It's not my penis, I should say my balls, so SMB. Fucking, I make some stupid terms sometimes. Yeah, but that's essentially what this is. I'll call it SMB, why not, and you'll figure out what the fuck it means. That's funny. Anyway, I'll move on. Yeah, I'm still busy. Still got to finish my artwork today. I'll do some writing, I'll do some triple triad and Final Fantasy, obviously tombstone stuff before the patch. Speaking of which, I do need to clear my inventory for that, for the patch. Never know what I'll pick up, but anyway, let's move on. So, settle down, take a rest first. We have to talk about the Final Fantasy FanFest reveals, and this is fucking shocking. This is my first one, to be fair, first FanFest one, watching obviously live. Not there, I won't go there anyway, too much for me. But of course they revealed a lot of things, and again I'm really fucking shocked. I really underestimated Yoshida. Because from what I've seen from the game so far, there are a lot of good things, but there are also a fair amount of bad things. So for me it's like for example when I tried this FOMO scale thing, the game ranked about, I think, 11 out of 21. So it's still like FOMO in the game, but not too bad. Admittedly they haven't addressed that, but that really gives you an insight into the sort of game design philosophies that are here. And I do very much have issues with, various aspects of the game, but I will say, what's been revealed so far has been incredible. One so shocking that I just brought me to tears a bit, but yeah, it was genuinely something. Anyway, I've got 156 fucking lines to go through and notes to talk about here. So let's start. We get introduced to Evercold, the Godless Realms. Here's my thoughts on what they're showing. Amazing cinematic. was hoping we'd see more stars. I'm assuming it was a star. I was hoping we'd visit those because that seemed to be an untapped area in the story, so it kind of made sense to go there. I'm not sure why they avoided it and did Dawn's Realm instead, but anyway. I thought they said at the beginning it was 3.0, maybe like for the story, but then they later say it's patch 8.0, so I don't know. Chat is saying because of the development time it's basically a baby. It's what you compost, I don't know, fetal phase. God. And then they say that this fourth, I forgot what that is in context. I know we've been to the first and source, whatever. So I'm not 100% sure what that is. So it's a bit kind of odd to me that they did that. You have to excuse me if I have to do a thing on these tombstones. Fourth is a reflection of Highland, falling into ruin. A bit worrying, because from a story perspective, I'm a bit unsure about that. It feels like they're going to recycle a bunch of things, both in story and design, but we'll have to wait and see. That's probably my only biggest worry about this so far. What trials will be awaiting? And the audience guys shouts Blitzball. I don't know what that's a reference to, but I figured I'd mention it. 7.5 story will be setting up the shift to Evercold, which is interesting. The concept art is beautiful, Stonehenge, this peasant village, Hell Bossa Nova, Islands, a few things, and they do go through it. Screenshots are quite interesting, sadly that looks like some of the graphic system isn't updated, which is disappointing. Yeah. Interesting architecture, statue of a dragon, airships flying confirmed. That damn cropland screenshot looks crazy good. Small houses, damn city, more concept art. An interesting place that's like a circle of string monument in the background I noticed. Not sure what that was about. The manor looks really fucking cool that they showed in the concept art. This time that danger's going to be massive. It's big. I don't know what that was reference to. Arcane giants, damn. Many of them roaming the fourth, the giants. Town areas are so fucking detailed, there's insane amounts of geometry about that. Because this all ties into the graphical thing, but how the fuck are they even going to pull this off? Because the way I see it, the amount of geometry in the game at this point is quite simple, even to the old to an extent, so I don't know how they're even going to do that. Unless they really utilise bump maps on like windows and stuff, which I'm surprised Pokemon didn't even do. It's like the most basic fucking thing. Yeah, which is why Pokemon has become such an embarrassing franchise in recent years. So I don't know how they're going to do that graphically, but the cities look really fucking interesting. That's why I'm on this note list whilst I do Air Force One. Also, it's my Michael. I'm anxious about that. I'm paranoid a bit. Yes, one. So one of multiple town areas, which sounds interesting. So there's going to be, what, not 2 but 3, by the sounds of it, which is interesting. So, do we even have something like that in the game? I don't think we do. We've always had like a 2-area system, but not 3. I'm assuming it was 3, based on how they worded it here. Again, saying multiple. They didn't say 2, they just said multiple. So, yeah. Then there's a very distinct town with a hole in the middle, which apparently boys are like going to jump down. Oh shit, a golden new town. I think the golden town looks really nice. It's sort of the architecture I wanted to see in this game, weirdly enough. After seeing Alexandria, I've been thinking, like, damn, I want to see more of this. It's just see what they could pull it off, and they did pull it off by the looks of it. And then we got the biggest reveal of all, the cat people. Yep, we've seen everyone, we've seen bunnies, we've seen elves, we've seen Estinian, and now we're seeing cat people. And I swear if this is a playable race, we're in for a fucking shock, aren't we? I can just imagine it. Just see cat people fucking everywhere, it'd be insane. They probably have like specific sounds as well, won't they? Game design updates, and I say please be something fucking good. Yeah, what else is there? Surprised how many people from 1.0 here. Crazy amount of registered accounts, and I wonder why ARR doesn't have any. We changed, oh no, I'm with chat, worried what's next. Tomestones, so many tomestones, brilliant. I guess unlimited, they didn't confirm that by the way. I can respect the consistent design to bring comforting experiences. I can certainly get used to what I've done though, having said that. Different direction for 8.0, so it isn't 3.0, yep. Better meet, hang on, I'll zoom in quick. Better meet out changing lives. What the fuck do I mean to say? I know they mentioned about change, but they've got to meet the sort of things, the places that are in life, so obviously people have children, or adopt children, and also people have things going on, like I do as well. So I don't have the time to play it exactly. And yeah, it seems to be about that, luckily. Shout out to the guy in chat saying speak plainly, assuming they keep edging us with the update. We need all 3 FanFests to cover it all, which is insane. And they're putting out the foundation today, which is good. So, the first thing they revealed was boring. A battle pass looking thing. Battle pass looking horse. Yeah, I'm a poet now. That was scary. And it looks like it spanned from 8.0 to 8.1. And they're changing the daily based system that they mentioned. Obviously, we have here, like roulettes, for example. They're changing it to weekly. Well, not the roulettes, but the system to get gear, I guess. So, like, your incentive, I think, anyway. Like, they're both very specific on that, weirdly enough. Just said that you need to complete X amount of missions, because they do the missions, it's like standard missions, and you do the roulettes for them. So complete a main scenario is one of them, complete, I forgot what it is, like a dungeon maybe, I don't know. But there's a bunch of missions, I can't remember what it was. So, they also said that you can, because there's bar, you can get the Mist Allegan Tomestones from the week before. So you can earn from weeks prior, which is good, but I'm hoping that goes far into it because I'm a bit worried about how long that is. So is it like 1 week or 2 weeks Mist or 3 weeks? How many? I'm genuinely confused. What about even like 4 weeks? Like, what about 10? Because some people will have to go away for that long, so they miss out, which is a bit stupid in my opinion. You know, if you want the system to be more fair, at least be able to visit those systems again, so everyone can have their chance. And even then, for players who are like coming in saying 9.0, let's think about the future here. Can we please have ways for them to get the fucking tomestones from that, and also obviously use it as poetics, so you know, there's a way to grind it out. So I don't know what they're thinking with this, but we'll have to wait and see, I think. New ways to raise item level, which is good. Wait for details on Savage Gear, introducing seasons, and I did say here that Deep Rock did it well with seasons, because obviously it's a battle pass thing, but you don't pay for it. And then Koji, I think the name was, the guy who's doing the English translation, said season, like free to play, extra fees. When I heard that, I was like, oh, thank fuck, someone mentioned it. And yeah, it's not got that vibe to it, which is good. So it's similar to a battle pass, but it's not premium, which is fucking godsend. Because I was really scared about that, and it just seems to be a fill the bar, which is a relief, seriously. Yeah, applying season pass, so every 2 patches or seasons, but you can go back, can you? But can you go back, I mean, that's what I meant. They didn't confirm it. Trying to get patches closer together, which is nice, not that I found it an issue, because with these drafts I find I can catch up on all the content. Character focused design, shout out to Gohan Chow who said competitive ERP, love it. Where do I come up? UI could be a big win if they do it well, as in the new UI. Armory system update, finally, I complained about this since day one of my gameplay, I think. Jobs will exist and have to be leveled, but now players will be able to reflect their highest item level to other jobs. So you only need one set of gear, but I think they did say as well that the material would need to be reapplied, I think. Don't I write that? Yeah, it is. The material won't transfer, which kind of makes sense, but assuming you can make new ones for each job, that really dumbs it down. So you can have crafted gear, for example. Like, even though I'm not into doing the end game, I can still get crafted gear potentially, and have that material system work for everyone else. So I see it being very beneficial, assuming they do the material thing right, because this is only one step, but the other is obviously material. Or they just remove material entirely, which I'm also not opposed to. Just find a different thing for it. Character action skins, which is interesting. Customizable animation, which is cool. Broadening character creation options, which is sweet. They've added colour pickers and lip customization, eyeshadow, skin tone, and face paint layering, but no butt sliders yet, which is funny to mention. For a game that was rated 12, but you know what? Fair enough. I don't know. I'm not going to say that actually. Fuck. Ow. Didn't actually hurt. Just an actor. Emo Lalafell Medusa. Yeah, that colour picker was awesome. Trans colours, here I come. I see that people making glorp whatever, with obviously the cat race. There's a bit more detail in the face paint layering. I will admit it's not the best example, I don't think. We're toggling off on and off certain pieces of the gear, which is interesting. So you can say remove the shoulders, or if I go to an example in game here, like, oh, I don't like these patches here, these green ones that look ugly, because I do. I'm assuming you'll possibly be able to turn them off. I could be wrong. So I don't know. We have to wait and see with that as well. There's a lot of things that are just left in the air, so you do have to be sort of careful. Another mention of the butt slider in 8.2. The next one is improving in-game content, public fields. So are they doing a merge, I was wondering, and more dynamic content? I'm confused by what they're revealing here. So that was a bit of a weird mention. They say they're improving quests, which is interesting. I don't know what they mean. Quality of life features to ease the burden of questing, and I said, what do you mean? What's the fucking burden exactly? Like, what? I don't really have many issues. It's just like around Reborn that was really slow. But other than that, there wasn't really many issues, I don't think. Over the Otter level actually was kind of bad. That was always a struggle to get to, without obviously grinding it daily, and I learned eventually to use Poetics, but even though it's a bit kind of, yeah. I didn't even realise you could buy gear, because with Gil, I mean, bit of this weird. But they say they're gonna reveal more in Fan Festival Berlin about systems, I think, and they're evolving battle content. Third difficulty for an 8-person raid, which I thought was really interesting, because I said this the moment I got into this game. Normal raids are fine, easy enough, but the Savage raids, as I did on Sync anyway, for Endwalker, or during Endwalker, just because it's on Sync, as in now, 7.0, I did not enjoy it. So I do think there is a big gap, and I did look at the clear rates as well. And the fact that clear rates are 85% to 22%, normal versus Savage there, it's a bit weird, and I'm glad they're adding a middle difficulty, because I think this could be an entryway and help practice. It could help get players into Savage, myself included. I definitely might consider trying it. But yeah, also adds content, which is good, I suppose, even though it's a bit repetitive, but I think it has potential. As long as they do it right. Maybe adding the second phase of the final boss, I don't know if that's a good idea. Or the third phase, depending on who it is. I don't know. It really depends on how they execute it. Are they going to add Savage mechanics to the normal version, or are they going to add normal mechanics to the Savage version? It really is up in the air at the moment. Then they say there's a progression system for 24 man raids. I don't know what this means. So I mentioned they look at the clear rates, so they're all paying attention, which is good. Hardcore gamers, usually they're doing what? The only time sync with Alliance raids, because they mentioned it's too long, which is weird. But I have to point out that Shadowbringers and Stormblood, from what I understood, and even Endwalker, were actually quite long. I think each raid took about 30 minutes with them, and Heaven's Ward, Remember Born took less, and even Dawn Trail, for some reason, I think takes fucking less time, which is very bizarre. So you've got these 3 patches of raids which just don't stand well for time, which I find weird. They need to fucking change that at least. That's my only thing though. After that we got game design updates. The map. Same region player matching, so it's finally cross-realm. All worlds across the entire region are now merged, essentially. Well, almost, but player matching, that's what it is. Party Finder included, which is a big fucking win, because now anyone who's on Chaos, for example, my servers or region, can now look for stuff in Light and also join Light related content. So this also reduces, and I suggested this by the way. I forgot to mention that. I suggested this the moment I started doing raids. I was like, there's no fucking way. Like these at least, like, or proper later ones. So like Heaven's Ward, doing these Alliance raids, doing Stormblood Alliance raids, doing Shadowbringers, and now it looks like we fucking get a merge. So the players from each can actually queue up and have faster fucking times. Finally. Like, I get roulette is there to help fill it, but it doesn't always work that way. So there's a higher chance now, I believe, of getting those requirements met. So having faster times as well. So the queues can almost be instant, possibly, with this player matching, assuming they do it right. I could have understood it wrong. That's also potential. More options about home switch, which is big W. And that'll be included in a 7.5x patch, which is really interesting. Wasn't expecting it that soon, given that they put all these systems together, but I guess they want to get it out of the way to test it. So that makes sense, to be honest. And then we're finally finished, or are we? Nope. 2 new jobs. New tank and new DPS, and as someone noted in chat, or people rather, the tank seems to have 2, because it was on New Sheeta's shirt, has 2 shields, I think. But the tank was fucking bulky. It's awesome. Like, I'm hoping that the tank is, because they say it's unique to Final Fantasy XIV, but I'm hoping it looks better than like my Paladin, for example, because my Paladin's quite, I don't know, it's not massive, but it's something. But could you imagine like 2 shields on this and the type of gear you would get on that tank? God, that would be insane. I'm hoping it's really good. But I'm happy there's a new tank too. It'll be interesting to see. So I'm going to move my limited job really enough just to account for that now. Just move it there. So I'm not doing this often. Mounts can also move. What am I doing? I'm moving mouse. I want to keep my thing actually. Don't I? I'll keep the chocobo thing there. Yeah, anyway. Next. They confirmed that the DPS is a physical ranged, I think, or ranged. I didn't understand what Cody was saying. It sounded like it was a ranged DPS, so I don't know if that means physical or caster. To be honest, it makes sense if it's physical because we'll have Beastmaster under physical as well, I believe, so it's going to probably fit underneath there somehow. I don't know, it's very weird. I'm not really sure what they're doing. And then, the way they revealed it, guess who's back? Both his jobs are FFXIV Originals. To be announced in Berlin. So Berlin is the meme of this fan festival. Another major evolution in jobs' new systems apparently. So the job action system is being reworked into reborn and evolved. Let me guess, to be announced in Berlin? Nope, it was sort of explained here. And Blue Mage was included. Well, it's included in the art, but not as a thing. And then they just remove it from the fucking art. Brilliant. Rip Blue Mage. So Reborn seems to be this, what we're seeing now. So like, I've got tons of actions here. But Evolved seems to be not just a simplification, but adding and removing of abilities and adding in terms of charges too. It's like Dragon and Assault in their example had like 3 charges of charging. And what was it? High jumps, 3 high jumps, that's it. Which is weird also because it pauses you, so I don't know how they're going to do that. But it looks interesting either way because it means something like Black Mage possibly gets a rework in that it's not as complicated and you don't have to track as many things, or at least if you do, you're not looking at these to fucking determine what to use next, or at least the MP. Like, I don't know how it's going to be done. And maybe even Ninja might be simplified, so we could see a potential good rework here. People saying it's casual mode are a bit stupid. I think it's an accessibility feature too. Like, it's not just a casual mode, it's an accessibility feature as well. Because let's be honest, this is overwhelming as fuck. If I was to tell, I don't know, let's say, what's the most button heavy job? What was it? I actually can't remember, because there's a few. No, this one's just buttons and stuff. I'm actually not sure, but you know, these are all technically button heavy anyway. You've got universal ones that are quite easy to learn, like Shirk and Arm's Length and Reprisal, obviously Sprint and Interact and stuff, but you've also got ones that are just not, well, too easy. But maybe the Evolve system will help players transition into that or something, but they say that it's going to be balanced based around, well, both, so both work for all content, which is a really fucking surprising promise. So I don't know. It's very weird, but it's going to change rotations, so I think that's overall good. I think I might use it depending on how it's done, if they do it well. You can toggle any time outside of battle. Obviously, job level is shared, gear is shared, evolve mode is available when I'm knocking a job, and all content is clearable also. So it's going to be a big order to fill. I almost said big shoes, but it is big shoes to fill too. We want you to also have evolve mode, which is interesting, so it doesn't make sense, so to be fair, because it means that it's following the lines of the story for some reason. I don't know why they keep doing this, but it's fair enough as is, because you can sort of see it with Pictomancer and Viper, because they're technically evolved already. Yeah, you've got the action changes already, you've got the trying to fill out stuff obviously with Pictomancer. Like, many of the buttons are combined, and so are many others, but they're not as like combo-y like other jobs obviously, which I think is good. It sort of reminds me of like World of Warcraft when I played a Demon Hunter, and it was like basically night and day compared to fucking Rogue or what's another Paladin. I'm trying to think of others. I can't remember, but it's similar to them anyway. But I mean, it's easier to play Demon Hunter than it is them. Just saying something about design and balance. But you can obviously remove abilities, you just choose to build upon them, which is a strange choice. Personally, I might stay with Reborn mode, but I'm not entirely sure. But that's not all. Let's go into this. Yeah, showcasing more things. Still more to go. It's been 1.4 hours. Level cap increased. Oh really? I didn't realise. Updates to the treasure hunts, fates, and the hunts, which is interesting. I'm wondering how they're going to do that. Because at the moment they're boring as fuck, and if they somehow make it interesting, fair play. Several new dungeons, and they keep asking where the ice is in this Evercold expansion. New gear is kind of cool. The samurai one looks awesome. A dog with hair swords as an enemy. New 8-player raid. What's the theme? To be revealed in Berlin. several interesting plans for PvP. Hopefully something good, because I can't stand it. Actually, I cannot stand it. Enter dungeons in pairs, which is an interesting idea. So you could go Huband or Wife and Wife. And there's a new alliance raid. Let me guess, Berlin raid. What is the theme of the next raid series? Berlin. Nice off music. Fucking Evangelion. What the fuck? I knew that Shadowbringers, the trials at least, were inspired by Evangelion, because you actually fucking flew one. You flew like an Evangelion sort of thing. And to see this now in game as an official raid is fucking insane. It caught me really off guard, because even though I'm not a massive fan of Evangelion, I like the world enough that it is interesting to me. I think the movies were definitely a lot better than the anime. The anime was definitely disappointing, but the movies definitely hit some strings there. But it's going to be really interesting to see this in game, wondering how they're going to pull it off. And hopefully they do something like they did in Nier, where you had like vehicles, well, briefly anyway, because I think that'd be really fucking cool to play as like an Evangelion or something, or I don't know, like play the Angel. I don't know what it's going to be like, but apparently the producer of Evangelion, to make this better, is supervising. So that is going to be hype, I think. And yeah, so that was very interesting. Then we have some more, almost done now. They have more system updates. They said they have system requirement updates, but there's no changes to system requirements. Approaching data limit capacity for PS4, RIP, so save up for a PS5 or a PS6, as someone in the chat said, because there may be a PS6 in 2 years, which is interesting. We finally get some patch 7.5 updates too, and I'll go through them as well. So, new Ultimate, I Sleep, but I knew as Kafka, Dancing Mad, and then they've expanded the free trial to Shadowbringers for these players as well. And for some reason 7.5 has 4 separate patches, which I don't know if that's normal, but I'm not really sure if I like it. But I don't know, it gives me a chance to catch up on content. And annoyingly, the Hildebrand and Phantom one is 7.55. That's just why? And Beastmaster is 7.56 for some fucking reason. What the hell is going on? What is with the spacing? But apparently, oh, did I see it right? Why don't I put the date? So also we've got the 7.5 releasing soon, and 7.5 is going to be in between this, but July, that's it. July is going to be the one with the weapons and stuff, so it's a bit weird. I don't know, it's very strange to me. But definitely exciting unit. If they can pull it off, it's a W. More important people like Square Enix, they say. And then the CEO comes out on stage, which is a bit strange. But I will say, based on what I've heard from like drama stories and obviously like it's a gaming news chat platform, I think the Square Enix CEO definitely is less controversial than others. I think there's so many more controversial CEO figures out there, so I don't know. I did find it a bit odd and a bit tone deaf to an extent, but fair play for going on stage in front of people, risking being booed to hell, and somehow it wasn't. I just thought it was interesting, but anyway, here's what they revealed. CEO FFXIV on Switch 2, which is neat, but subscription update. It wasn't what I thought it was, which was good, but still worrying. For some stupid fucking reason, Nintendo wants you to pay an entirely different subscription for Final Fantasy XIV, just to play on the Switch 2. Yeah, what the fuck? This is stupid. Like, it's just really dumb. Just get a Steam Deck. Like, what the fuck is the point of the Switch 2? I was like, okay, maybe I'll get this, but no, subscription. Need to get a separate one. That's right. Apparently, existing subscribers get 50% off, which is still not great. Yeah, it's real shit, to be honest. I think that's like their way of mitigating sort of cross-platform issues. But I'm really not sure. It's very strange to me. So the other thing they announced with this, which was surprising, is no Switch Online membership required. That is a win, because it's stupid to have that fucking membership. I'm honestly fed up of it myself. I stopped paying for it because I didn't have any games to play with it. So what's the point? So they have the Switch 2 version up and running, which is good. It looks fine. I couldn't see much on it. Graphically, it looks about the same as those settings here. I don't know how taxing it is. And I also noticed he's playing a job I haven't seen before, so I'm not sure if it's the new one or if it's Beastmaster. Special message from our CEO. Yoshi approached him, announced him. What? He did announce him, kinda. Approached him, a demand. You have to give our team limit break, I think is what he said. And I was suspecting this anyway from the start, like they have to, because this seems like a really big task to do. Is it ever possible to go that big? Yes it is. Please hire those fired from their jobs, I said. So, yeah, I'm hoping they do recruit people at least from these companies that have been, obviously, I don't know what you call it. What the fuck is it? Laid off? Yeah, laid off. Hope they hire people like that, because I think that's really important. Give those employees, well, game developers actually, first and foremost, job opportunities they should have. They should be good for that. So I'm hoping that's what they meant by expanding the team to bigger and better things. Is it possible to come, I guess? But yeah, it's pretty good otherwise. So being able to get support to make the team bigger, which I think is overall good. I think it's generally fine. Like, there's a lot of good fucking patches here, and I think I am looking forward to, I'll see the new patch, because I'll be honest, it does interest me a lot. I am quite interested in 8.0 as it currently stands. It looks promising, and if they keep going with these changes, I see a game that's also slowly becoming one of my favourite of all time. If they fix a lot of things, if they, for example, change old systems too, so it's more realistic, it would be beneficial. So, you know, changing savageries, as I said, to reward the amount on completion, or whatever you want, like an item to trade in, that'd be great. Same with extremes, maybe, or maybe lowering the count for it, so maybe clear it 10 times, and not have a chance to get it, might be better. Changing some of the gates and Gold Saucer. Also, the raid difficulty's already been addressed, so that's good. PvP systems need to rework, so hopefully they do that right. What else? I can't think else. It needs to do the evolved system good. So it's possible I might even switch to it, but it really depends. I'd rather a simpler system, but at the same time, that's only because I fuck up rotations every now and then, and rotations can be punishing. But I don't know why they're trying to lure in players with the idea that it's stronger. It's a bit weird. Not sure I agree with that, honestly, because that does lead to issues. So yeah, yeah, I do find that really strange, but as I said, there's a lot to see, a lot to remain. Very weird. Anyway, I think I've spoken enough. That's really fucking long. Jesus, 35 minutes. That's quicker than I thought that. I thought it'd be like 40. But there's a lot to go through in that. It's actually insane how much they're revealing, and it makes me wonder what the next fan festivals have in store. But yeah, it's going in a good direction. I think Final Fantasy XIV, if they could pull it off. Again, it's if. We're not guaranteed this, I don't think, and they say it's subject to change too. But if they pull it off, then I think we're in big. I think this game could see another resurgence. I think it'd be amazing. because Dawn Trails obviously was really disappointing. But there is potential there. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. So, just when I thought there was nothing more to talk about with the Final Fantasy XIV fan festival thing, there is more. They had a dev panel and it revealed some really interesting details. Honestly, I am surprised. I'm wondering if Day 2 has anything, but I'm going to hold up hopes because it's probably going to be more Berlin. More to be announced at Berlin. What's like this? No way. But yeah, there are a few answers to these problems that we've seen, which is interesting. So we've got some devlore, which I thought was interesting as well. Like I forgot his name, Tamayoki, is it? Tayoki? I think his name began with a T. But anyway, there's some interesting lore around him and stuff. And then there's they announced obviously the new battle system and they're going to explore it, so they're going to explain more about it. But the problem is they say it's not simplified, but it is in some ways, and even after all this, it still seems a bit like that. But the way they marketed it was awful, because it looks like they removed abilities and made everyone worse, meaning that the reborn system would have been far better. That's why it surprises me a bit, because it feels really lazily done. But anyway, let's go through it, because they actually revealed a lot in this. Evolved Paladin looked awful, because we didn't see much, but then they changed my mind. Basically, all one button combos is good. I've requested this since the start of the game. I always hated having to do combos in between all this, which has always felt a bit stupid to me. Sorry. But they've done some interesting things to it. So one of the things they've done is shortening the recast and increasing potency for Evolved, apparently. I didn't see this in the preview they did, but it probably exists, so I can't really dismiss it, in all honesty. But it does seem to be a good sign for the most part, because it at least means they're trying to evolve that sort of, what do you call it, like gameplay style. So yeah, like lower recast times is probably good. It means it's going to be quicker, it's going to be more on your feet, and that's probably what you want in, obviously, an action role. And what's the other thing? God, I can't read today, I just woke up. So they change effects based on the target, which is really interesting. So each button has a different effect. Holy Spirit and Clemency, for example, are now the same button. Might wonder how. If you target an ally, it becomes Clemency. Also, if you target an enemy, it becomes Holy Spirit. And then they decided to do the same thing for cover. Fucking cover, which is one of my favourite abilities, but also least used, because yeah, there ain't really many things you can do with that exactly. It's really subjective, I suppose. But anyway, they changed that and they showed off something else, 2 provokes, like her, and it actually works by having provoke turn into shirk, because they removed shirk for some reason, but put it here, which is a relief. Like, honestly, that's really interesting, because it definitely means that it's a lot easier to pick up these roles and get by with them. So yeah, putting them in 1 is actually a kind of genius. So say I was targeting my off tank. Oh, there we go. Actually, that is something that's going to be interesting. I wonder how they can do like off tanks, because I'll probably mention this later if I remember. But anyway, so yeah. But then I was confused about like how they're going to do like interject and stun. Very weird choice, but the shield bash, like, because that's a very niche ability. I genuinely wasn't sure about what it was about. Because shield bash is a really underutilized ability. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use it except myself. I use it. I'm a fucking weirdo. I don't know. I'm also a warrior of light, so I have that duty to use that ability. But it's so strange to me, literally, because where would they put that in this? Like, how would you put that? And really think about this for a second, like, pause and think. Where would you put it? And you'll probably realise eventually that this actually does make sense. The decision they made is fucking genius. So, on top of that, they showed other things. We'll see that thing later, but they showed a new system in action on 4 different jobs now. They're turning tank busters into basically countering, so that countering it would essentially give you like a damage boost, and depending on the timing, I think it gives you a bigger boost, if I'm not mistaken. So there's an interesting sort of DPS aspect to it, which I find fascinating because, yeah, to be honest, the combat in this game has been more about, it's about timing, I guess, but more about when to use it in like a span of a minute. But I don't know, it's very much got potential, but it could also be disastrous. Depends. I'm gonna read the subreddit after this, I think, see what everyone thinks. Excuse me whilst I do fashion report. The all important fashion report here. Where the fuck are they? Still haven't memorised gold sources yet. Let's see, what's the next thing they did? Yeah, Light Cone has new actions, which is interesting, because Light Cone I do like. It's a very niche ability, but it's cool. And I sort of, I'll talk about it later actually, about the new tank, but I sort of speculated something about it which might come true. So then we get the really cool thing, which I mentioned earlier. Obviously like a dash. Oh yeah, that's something with interject actually. Just remembered, interject, the problem is it's now got like a stun ability associated with it, so when you use that, it sort of becomes a stun. So I'm a bit confused about how you use it still, because it's still basically an interrupt, but you got 2, unless there are some things you can't stun. I'm confused. Maybe it's detects the enemy, could be wrong. So let's see, next thing. Yeah, this is it, cool. I thought this was really fucking cool. Basically, they combined cover with dash to an ally. The only problem with this, I suppose, is you can't really toggle it on and off, so there's probably a reason to use reborn mode despite that. But it's still good. I think having cover obviously restricted to that, especially in a combat scenario, is kind of cool. It really makes a class feel, a job rather, feel like their job. Because that's actually what a paladin would do. They'd rush to your ally's side and protect you. Like, that's why it's so fucking cool. It's like all damage mitigated. And I'm assuming like Sentinel works the same way. It's like you target an ally and it gives you the ability to obviously use that. So use the ally one. But then there's something really cool, which is the shield, as I mentioned. The shield thing is really fucking cool because I don't know how you figure this out, but it's really awesome. Basically, Shield Bash is going to replace Shield Lob based on distance, which is extremely fucking cool, because when you're like obviously dragging a bunch of mobs around in a dungeon or something and you haven't like AoE'd them, assumingly, you could just Shield Bash them and it stuns them obviously, but it's also really fucking cool. Like, holy crap. So yeah, it's really awesome. I do like it. I suppose the other thing to mention is this really incentivizes controller play now, and also it really needs me to make a 1, 2, 3, 4 button system to actually make things work, because yeah, I do see myself maybe having a bit of a struggle with certain things here in the evolved form if I do go with it. So I will need to change buttons. Obviously there's a lot to update with removing synergies. They mentioned that after I should explain that. Then we see the dragon reworks, so there's some interesting things here. Vengeful jump combines true north, which is interesting. Definitely like it. So yeah, positionals are now tied to that. Just curious. And I asked to see visual feedback based on positionals. Apparently they're going to add it at some point. So yeah, that's really fucking good. Finally, get to see whether we landed a hit or not. And what's next? Sky High is an ability now from PvP, but I think I couldn't tell what they were saying. Whether it was like, oh, we're experimenting, or we're maybe not adding this because it's a bit too powerful. But they said that there's going to be a damage reduction rather than invulnerability when you use it, which is fine. So it's going to be very interesting to see that. And then we see White Mage next. It looks okay. I don't really have much to say about this. Cast time's apparently gone from the DPS spells, so focuses on healing primarily. Because healing also powers the DPS spells again, I think. And then they show Bard reworks, and the Bard rework is actually really fucking cool. I had low expectations, and then they blew it away. I'll just call it Volley, looks cool. And there are definitely some interesting abilities there now, so it's more like a combo class rather than just dots and stuff. And to be honest, I don't know, is removing dots a good idea? It's kind of hard to say. The benefit for dots really is that it can squeeze in the last bit of DPS that you may be missing, but I don't know. But finally we get some more updates. So they're removing synergies. So removing damage buffs and such. And I did hate this a lot actually when I was doing it. I just remember all the times that I'll play a caster or something like Summoner or Scholar or even Astrologian and use like the damage abilities or the damage buff abilities, and then having them not stack. It's like, okay, it's a waste of 120 seconds now, and because the game for some reason pairs you with the players like this, and for some reason they didn't fix the fucking matchmaking system for that. It makes it a bit dumb, but at least now I think players can rely on playing their favourite jobs. So say you wanted to do Savage as Summoner for some reason, maybe in the evolved mode rather. Well, now you can do that because stacking doesn't really matter. You know, there's no such thing as a unique job now. Everyone's pretty much on the same level, which is a good change, I think. So yeah. Apparently next they changed the acquisition of evolved mode, so that means possibly my problem with Machinist might be addressed, but there is something I need to mention. Evolve mode might fix the problem I had with rotations. Yeah, I've mentioned that. But there's one problem. I noticed that there was no area of effect attack, and I'm wondering, maybe they're experimenting with the system, because obviously most of the attacks we get like synergized, so like go to Paladin, but actually not Paladin, Dragon. And when you go into these abilities, like they have in their tooltip like 500 for the first target and 50% for less, and always when there's a synergy it's like that. So by synergy I mean like follow up. But even Wormwind Frost has that, Stardiver has that, and it's even useful in a single target situation, but that's how they address the area of effect situation that people are worried about. However, I don't know how they're going to do the combo abilities, so as you got here like True Frost, Lance Barrage, Evans Frost, Fang and Claw. If you want to AoE you have to do Doom Spike, Sonic Frost and Corfian Torment. I'm not sure if it's going to be a separate ability or what. It's not been very clear what they intend to do with that. But given that most of the abilities have come from these area of effect attacks anyway, they might just still remain as they are, and maybe every attack is an area of effect. So there is that, but there's also the other option, which based on Shield Bash, which you've seen in Shield Lob, it's based on how many enemies are near you. So maybe the ability changes depending on how many enemies are on the enmity list. So that adds a really interesting aspect. Or maybe we just go full single target on everything. So I don't know what's going on with that. I think I haven't forgotten the things I was going to mention. Next is the tank rolls. So they've decided to do it, which kind of sucks, but also is kind of interesting. This is our main tank and off tank. The new tank is a main tank. I sort of suspected it, speculated that maybe the new tank would be more about shielding, protecting allies, because we don't currently have much of that. You know, even with technically Dark Knight being one of the strongest shielders next to, well, we'll see others, like Paladin's the strongest. It's a bit weird, so I'm not surprised, but also I'm just surprised that we have roles now. So similar to apparently a Barrier Healer and Pure Healer, we've got this now. And according to them, off-tank is good at lowering damage taken by allies and actions to lower damage. And I was kind of right about that. I did speculate this before, because tanks are very separate in terms of what they did. And the main tank, I think, is... Did I write what it is? Yeah, main counters enemy attacks and good at taking damage there. But apparently it won't affect normal gameplay, but it will affect Savage and stuff, which is definitely going to be interesting. I think we're going to see like different things there and different metas now, which is also really interesting. So I don't know really what to expect of this. It's a very weird scenario, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't expecting this. This was not on my bingo cards. What? Bingo cards. So, yeah, so it's strange, but apparently the hardest content is the only place that will be affected by these changes, or the tank anyway. The evolved form I'm not sure about. Was a bit clear. But yeah, like, that's pretty much all there is on this, and I have to mention, or I've addressed the elephants in the room, because, yeah, in the corner here. That's an image. But what isn't an image is a source site that is the hardcore FFXIV community, who for some fucking reason do not like the evolved mode. They're always skeptical about this, always saying, it's bad, you have to play it my way, you have to play with all these thousands of buttons that I had to. It's like the same fucking mentality as a child, and it's just fucking bad. It's really terrible, because I saw this evolved mode and the first thought I had, it was accessible. The less buttons there are, the better. I can suddenly pick up a controller to play it now, which is really amazing. And yeah, not what do I even say. You know, they even tested it with a controller to prove it, and it works. So I'm very impressed, in all honesty. It also gives you room for macros if you ever use them, but I don't know. But yeah, I just think it's really stupid, the discourse around people criticising this. Like, why? You do fucking realise that this literally is going to fix a lot of the game's problem, right? All the problems. Because one of my issues when leveling for the first time is that it's overwhelming to get all these abilities. You know, Black Mage, for example, was one of the most difficult jobs to master. I played with Ninja. But Black Mage was hard because you had to tackle so many different abilities here. So you got the Flare Style, you got the Xenoglossy, and like switching between fire and ice, you have to keep track of everything. You've got the shards as well, which you have to keep track of. And even like your level, like 5-3 or ice 3, you needed to keep that all up, and it basically got confusing, especially with tackling a dot on your MP usage. It's overwhelming. So I'm interested to see what Evolved Mode does for Black Mage and likewise Ninja. I imagine Ninja might be similar, might be the same rather, I mean. So, you know, you've got the controller aspects of it where you probably do like left, up, right, then go into down. Well, obviously that's your ability. It's also my biggest regret of making my hotkeys the way they are. It's a bit of a stupid system. Again, I wish I did a 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe ERTY. Well, actually not ERTY, but RTYU? No, U's too far, fuck that. That's like doing a big scale on my guitar. So I don't know. Well, there's definitely things to explore here. It makes me curious as well. But it has a lot of potential. Like, that has to be said. And also props for even attempting it. We're finally getting a game that feels like it's going to be more accessible and bring new players in. Although, I will say with the system as well, they have to implement changes to older systems. So we're not also just talking about combat here, we're talking about doing older content. So it's something like, I don't know, Eureka, for example, which I have massive issues with. They need to fix all the problems in that before I think we can get into the Evolve system, because Eureka has some terrible fucking grinds. It is honestly agonising, and the entire system with, obviously, the spawning phase becomes tedious, it becomes annoying. So they need some changes with that, at least drop more crystals, that way time is well spent, so that can be a thing. Also needs to be better for solo play as well, no doubt. I can't really think of what else is there. Obviously Blue Mage is not getting any changes, although I kind of wish it did, to be honest. Now imagine if you set it to like 12 actions, or 16 actually, what they're aiming for, and you could combine some AoE abilities maybe. But that's actually... holy fuck. I just figured it out. Well, yeah, if you look at my DPS here, if you can reduce this somehow to 16, then I think it's possible. So we're looking about here. This is Song of Torment. But how would you do it? Might be the question. Simple. Cooldown rotations. So say you got like Feather Rain and you've got the macro for it. So you put that into your combo slot. So we have a combo action here. And then you put in there also Shock Strike. What's the other one? Sea Shanty and Being Mortal, which are all instant costs, by the way. Now we've just got one button for them. So we need one more. And the other one could be something else, like, trying to think. What could it be? Like, it has to be more like AoE abilities, but in an order. So maybe like Winged Retribution, Super Lanka, Phantom Flurry, and maybe Matcha Magic, or Matcha Magic and then Phantom Flurry. So basically, they all benefit from these changes. So there's like an order to these things. And if you fuck it up, that's probably your own fault, but even then, it's like, it only works when it's on cooldown. So only cooldowns go in that. So not like a ability like Deep Clean, for example, which I use as mine, because it's funny. It's the most casual player thing to say. I use Deep Clean because it's funny. Not Sonic Boom. I'm not a fucking sweat. But yeah, I think that's a solution to the Blue Mage clutter and the way to simplify the DPS. Even though there's many uses, like obviously like Apheric Mimicry can be elsewhere, but it still would be a good system. My slots are quite full. Also, you would need to get another action slot with like 2 abilities maybe. So I don't know, but Blue Mage can definitely be applied in the evolved form. Evolve mode. It just depends on if they can implement it or not. They just need to allow you to customize the system itself. So as long as it's not like again a recast thing where it's like small, like a Deep Clean as I said, they could definitely do it. And yeah. Anyway, I better end the podcast here because it's quite a lot. Maybe, unless there's something on the Final Fantasy XIV subreddit, but yeah, until that point, thanks for listening.